Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something completely fascinating. We are looking at how artificial intelligence might actually be meant for something much more profound than just generating quick shortcuts. We're going to deconstruct AI's true role in deeper thinking and uncover how super users are leveraging these tools in ways that will probably surprise you. Let's get right into it. To really wrap our heads around modern AI fluency, we actually have to take a little trip back in time to the early 1980s. Picture this: a General Motors assembly plant in Fremont, California. And to start, we have to ask a seemingly unrelated but totally crucial question. How did the absolute worst workforce in America somehow become the best? Section 1. The Worst American Factory.
So this GM facility in Fremont was widely regarded as the absolute worst-performing car manufacturing site in the entire United States. It was legendary, but for all the wrong reasons. They had this massive, crippling employee engagement crisis. Absenteeism was regularly hitting 20% on a normal day. But on Mondays, it would spike to an unbelievable 50%. Half the workforce simply wouldn't show up.
I mean, the culture was so unbelievably toxic that when managers didn't have enough people to start the production line, they'd literally walk across the street, pull day drinkers off bar stools, and bring them over to run the lines. As you can imagine, grievances piled up. Resentful staff would intentionally destroy and sabotage the very products they were building.
Right, so it shouldn't be a shock to anyone that in 1982, GM finally just surrendered to the chaos. They shuttered the factory entirely, laying off around 5,000 people and leaving the local community totally devastated.
Section 2. Pulling the andon cord.
But then, 2 years later, driven by the intense threat of Japanese imports, GM partnered with Toyota to form a joint venture called NUMMI to reopen that exact same plant. And here's where it gets wild. Against GM's wishes, the union insisted on rehiring the old workers. Toyota actually agreed. They bet that the system, not the people, was the problem. They ended up rehiring 85% of that notoriously terrible Fremont workforce.
Toyota brought in a radically different working culture. They completely shifted away from GM's cardinal rule, which was basically never stop the line regardless of cost or defects, and replaced it with Toyota's system of extreme individual responsibility, where the absolute core goal was to stop for any defect.
The ultimate symbol of this new culture was the andon cord. This was a physical rope running the entire length of the production line. Every single adult on that floor was empowered and expected to pull it and halt the entire factory production the second they spotted an anomaly. Rather than getting shouted at for stopping the line, workers were actually thanked, and co-workers would immediately step in to help fix the issue. The results? Absolutely staggering. Within just 3 months, the cars coming off that line had near-perfect quality ratings. And that crazy 50% Monday absenteeism? Boom, it plummeted to a steady 2%. The worst workforce in America literally became the best, simply because they changed the system and empowered the workers to actually care about quality.
Section 3. An andon cord for thinking.
Okay, so what does a 1980s car plant have to do with artificial intelligence? Well, this story holds the most vital lesson for our modern integration of AI. Because today's workplace isn't manufacturing cars, right? We are manufacturing knowledge. The new factory floor is entirely cognitive, and AI is our new heavy machinery. Look closely at almost every company right now, and you'll find AI super users. But here's the thing. They don't just use AI as some glorified answer engine to fetch quick facts. No, they use it for generative expansion. They use it to adversarially challenge their own ideas, to reveal blind spots, and to explore completely new territory. They bring raw, messy, unfinished thoughts to the AI specifically to push their cognitive boundaries. For these super users, AI is literally an andon cord for thinking. It's a systematic willingness to follow 3 steps: spot a cognitive defect or a weak idea, stop the metaphorical line, and dive deeper into the problem with AI, rather than just shrugging and letting a mediocre idea pass downstream.
Section 4. Engaging with what is difficult.
But here's the massive roadblock we're currently facing. Treating AI as a tool for deeper thinking? It's actually incredibly rare right now. Most people are using it to avoid difficult cognitive work entirely. The data is honestly a bit startling. Studies suggest over 40% of long-form posts on LinkedIn and a third of longer posts on X are likely fully AI-generated. We are witnessing a massive adoption of superficial automation. People are just churning out content without actually thinking.
And we're seeing this cognitive atrophy happening in education too. A recent professor suspected his students were using AI as a crutch, so he decided to run a closed-book exam. The result? 56 out of 59 students failed. Let that sink in. When the system values the end result over the actual mastery of a subject, people will absolutely use AI to skip the hard work of learning.
So, here's the absolutely crucial point to take away from all this. AI is going to divide our workforces based entirely on this one dynamic. There are those who use it purely as an answer engine to bypass effort and avoid thinking. And then there are those who use it as an and-on chord to actively engage with what is intellectually difficult.
Section 5. The top-down fantasy.
The big problem modern businesses face is that scaling this deep and on-chord style of AI thinking is incredibly difficult within traditional corporate structures. Remember GM? Even though they had that highly successful NUMMI blueprint for 25 years, they completely failed to scale it to their other plants. Why? Well, when they tried to copy the physical and-on chord to other factories, the underlying culture just wasn't there. The old system literally punished the workers for the very practices that made NUMMI a success in the first place. The culture flat out rejected the innovation.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly what is happening with AI today. Leaders mistakenly believe that simply buying AI tools and running a neat little pilot program will fundamentally change how their staff thinks. But a successful pilot stays a successful pilot. True capability does not transfer simply through exposure to a new tool.
It comes down to this. Pushing functional tool training from the top down completely fails to cross the cultural chasm. Teaching someone which buttons to click, that's functional knowledge. And that is definitely not the same as tacit knowledge, which is the intuitive, behavioral shift required to actually think alongside an AI. Novel innovations like AI require entirely new behaviors, not just a 10-minute software tutorial.
Section 6. Protecting the early adopters.
So how do we actually fix this? To truly transform a company's cognitive capabilities, you have to look closely at the people who are already intuitively pulling the cord. Those AI super users we talked about, they are your catalysts for change. But they need to be deliberately protected from the white blood cells of organizational inertia. They need air cover so they can build critical mass and actually shift the culture. So take a hard look at your own team, your own company. Are you protecting your AI early adopters and letting them redefine how you think? Or are you just letting the old culture swallow them whole? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.